The Pacers care a lot about the Cleveland Cavaliers these days, and they will continue to have to care about Cleveland through Friday. Cleveland falls to the Nets in the play-in game. We'll break it down and then talk about Chris Duarte's rookie season and was it worth an all-rookie team selection. We'll talk about it all today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers as always. My name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and the Westside Community News. And today, as you expect on a Pacers podcast, we're talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, their first play-in game in their quest to make the playoffs. And for the Pacers, the Cavs' quest to transfer a pick over to the Indiana Pacers, but the Cavs lose. We'll break it down on today's show. What happened in the game? Does it give me and the guest that I'll get to in a second confidence that they can win on Friday in their second playing game? Plus, Chris Duarte's rookie season was pretty good. Only played 50-something games, though. Is he worthy of an all-rookie selection? We'll break it all down today. Joining me to do all that, Rhett Bauer from 8 points, 9 seconds for the second time this season. Rhett, how you doing, man?
Oh, man, it's playoff basketball time. And though the
is.
Pacers aren't involved, it's still very exciting. Didn't get the result we wanted tonight as a Pacers fan, but, you know, there's another chance, so maybe we will end up with an extra first. And you have to do a lot more draft prep.
Have a lot more draft prep. I basically, if they end up with let's just say 5 because they're there, even though they probably won't be 5. If they end up with 5, 17, 31, like I gotta cover everybody basically, like because of last year's trade to move up for Isaiah Jackson, and like the last pick of the draft, like they don't even have enough roster spots to keep that guy. Like they're gonna be traded. It's gonna be wild, especially if they end up with this Cavs pick. So we'll jump right into that game. We'll cover that for a segment under the scope of the Pacers to some extent, and then talk about Chris Duarte's rookie season and his shot at all rookie. Cavs lose 115-108 was the final score. That score means nothing because the Cavs had the worst first quarter imaginable for a team playing in their first important game without LeBron James in 2 decades. And then we're pretty good the rest of the way, got it within 6 late, but just couldn't get it done. And we'll talk about the whole game because, look, if I wanted to be lazy, I could say it was all Kyrie KD. The minutia doesn't matter too much. Kyrie Irving was unbelievable. He didn't miss a shot till the fourth quarter. Kevin Durant had the easiest scoring night I've ever seen. But that wasn't really it to me because the second quarter of this game, Rhett, is where this game kind of changed to me. And you can chime in a second, but the Cavs only scored 23 in that quarter. And the reason that quarter was so important to me is, like I said, the Nets were up 20 after 1, and the Cavs were doing awesome on defense in the second quarter. They were mixing in their 1-2-2 zones. Their defense was playing good. Kevin Love was playing great defense. Rondo was playing good defense. And they kept Darius Garland out for like 7 minutes to start the quarter. And then when it's brought him in, they took Kevin Love out, who was playing really well. So in that quarter, the only quarter the Nets scored less than 28 points, they had such a weird substitution pattern that they were only able to chip into that lead by 3. And in a game where you lose by only 7 points, a quarter where if you had a normal offensive quarter would have been huge. So that was, to me, the quarter where the Cavs kind of gave this game away.
Absolutely. If you just looked at the Nets score quarter by quarter, you would probably think that the Cavs might have won because under no circumstances are you looking at a 17-point quarter from Kyrie and KD and thinking that the Nets would still end up losing by 7. And it's just one of those things that I always want to talk to coaches and be like, okay, it's a win or potentially go home. Like if you win, you're in. Why are you not like putting pedal to the metal in a quarter where it matters so much? And then Garland and Love not being in there at the same time. Had Garland set out for like 4 minutes instead of 6 and he had 3 minutes with Love, they probably would have closed the gap and it would have been, you know, like maybe a 10-point deficit instead of a 17-point deficit. And man, that just would have changed the game so much. You texted me about halfway through the game and said that it was basically just about Bickerstaff in the first half. And yes, that is the story of the game, I think.
The Cavs, okay, so let me give him a tiny bit of credit. So that 20-point lead was down to 13 after about 4 minutes of the quarter. So I get him going, okay, this unit's playing well. But they got to that point with 7 minutes and 51 seconds left in the frame. They scored 2 points for the next 3.5 minutes. Like at some point in that 3.5 minutes, Garland had to come back in, and then to have Love come out at the same time, that was very perplexing to me. And that was kind of a swing part of the game because Garland was fantastic. Like he was easily the best Cavalier in this game. Rondo was pretty good. Kevin Love was pretty good. Mobley is just awesome every time he plays. But Garland is like all of their half-court offense in this game. right? And as Pacers fans know, LeVert has these kind of games where he is woefully ineffective, right? He had 6 turnovers. Excuse me, that was Garland's turnover number. He had 2 turnovers, 4 for 12 from the field, right? And he was kind of forcing it. If he can't get it going, they need Garland there all the time. And so to not have him was jarring to me, especially because to tie this to the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton just tore the Nets up on Sunday, right? They gave up over 120 points. In my head before this game. I thought, okay, the Cavs do have a shot because the Nets half-court defense stinks, but they had so many no-pass possessions or low transition opportunity possessions and playing in the mid-post for some reason a lot. It was just very strange from the Cavs, who figured it out in the second half for sure, but it was too late after some weird decisions early on.
Yeah, it's funny looking at Halliburton and Garland's box scores for these 2 games because they played the exact same amount of minutes, 39 minutes, except one of the games mattered for nothing and the other game mattered a ton. So like one team has something to play for, but played their point guard 39 minutes, which is still a lot, but it's not a lot for the playoffs. Like Kyrie and KD both played 42. If you give Garland those 3 extra minutes in that second quarter, we might be celebrating a first-round draft pick, an additional first-round draft pick here.
The minutia matters for the Cavs because they play again, and having these things in hand as tricks to use against either the Hawks or Hornets is important. But I do want to give kudos for the last time I'll probably talk about the Nets on this show all season to Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. Kyrie Irving was, 10 for 10 in the first half? And I think
Yes.
9 of those shots, degree of difficulty, 10 out of 10 difficult. I mean, they were ridiculous, especially the buzzer beater he hit at the half. He was insane. Kevin Durant he took, I mean, all his shots look easy because he's taller than the guy shooting over him. He only took only 16 shots, but completely tore up the Cavs with 25 points because they had no answers for him. No one has answers for him, but he just makes it look so easy. And then an honorable mention, because again, last time we talked about the Nets, Bruce Brown, ridiculous game. 7 points in the first 3 minutes of the game, and he finished with 18 points, 9 rebounds and 8 assists. And 3 steals for Bruce Brown. He was a short roll god in this game, making shots from the elbow, finding bigs under the basket, getting it back to Kyrie and KD in the right spots. If he has a little bit of an off night, the Cavs might have a shot in this game. He was at game high plus 16, but he was ridiculous. Bruce Brown changed the game and potentially the fate of the Pacers season. So credit to all those guys for the Nets.
Absolutely. It's one of those things where when you're watching the game, you're like, Bruce Brown's handling the ball an awful lot. And then it works. It works very well because turns out having KD and Kyrie off ball is incredible because defenses are very, very terrified of those 2 individuals off ball. So yes, you could say, like you said, that it was just KD and Kyrie going crazy, but it really wasn't because Drummond put in 16 and 8. You know, Claxton had 13 points, 9 boards, 5 blocks, did not miss from the field. So like overall, it was just solid games from everybody because like you said on the Cavs side too, they were all effective too. So it wasn't just the story of the stars. It just, man, that rotation just got a little bit out of hand.
Yeah, the Nets went 8-man rotation and had 3 guys play over 40 minutes, Durant, Brown, and Irving. The Cavs played 10 guys. That kind of says a little bit about the urgency and strategies. For the Cavs, though, they will play again. The Pacers are not totally done analyzing the situation yet, which means I have to continue to track who the Pacers want to win on a given night. They hope the Timberwolves win as we're speaking for draft pick purposes, but the Cavs will play again. And so 2 things. 1, I was encouraged by basically every important Cavs player not named Caris LeVert. Rondo was solid. Evan Mobley played well. Darius Garland played well. Kevin Love played well. All their bit players couldn't make shit to cuss. Isaac Okoro was terrible. Chetty Osman missed all his shots. Lamar Stevens was okay, but all those guys needed to be better. If any of them were okay from 3, the Cavs might have won this game. So for an important game on Friday for the Cavs, I think that all of their good players will be up for that game, which is good. 2, they brought out this 1-2-2 zone with Mobley at the top. I'm sure they've used it more this season because I haven't watched all their games, but it was really effective. And that could be, especially if they guard Trae Young, something they can pull out that makes me, again, confident that they can have a good game plan. They had a good game plan. Their execution was not all there. They had 15 turnovers and 21 fouls. So I do have a little bit of confidence, especially with the Cavs at home, that they can win Friday. The question is, can they do it again? And can their bit player step up a little bit?
Yeah, that was the one takeaway I had as well, is even though they did lose, and so now you're in a 50-50 shot to go home or to get the pick for the Pacers, I really liked the way that the Cavs rotation played as a whole, because Garland's going to go out and get his. But if most of the role players do this similar thing and LeVert just has a decent game, they'll probably beat either Atlanta or Charlotte. And so even if LeVert doesn't have a good game, but any one of the role players decides to hit a single shot, like Cedi Osman 0 for 4, Rondo 1 of 5 from 3, Okoro 0 of 3 from 3, and those were the only 3 shots he took. Like, any of those shots go in, and it's a drastically different game because as good as Trae Young is, he's not KD, he's not Kyrie. And not only that, but they also don't have another player that's as good as KD or Kyrie on the wing. And so that's where the Cavs struggle. And I think that they have a pretty good chance of beating either team, but I would definitely want them to see Charlotte and not Atlanta.
I agree with that. I was going to bring that up. I think they match up really well with the Hornets, who have just the worst interior defense in the league. The Hornets have been a lot better. This is weird. Since Hayward's injury, which is strange. Like a pretty good record with Isaiah Thomas in the lineup, too. It's like they're playing well right now. But just the things they suck at, I think the Cavs can exploit really well. They're not a high volume or really accuracy three-point shooting team. So you'd like to see, if you're the Cavs, a matchup that you can exploit a little bit. You know, they were 22nd in three-point attempts, 20th in total, makes about average in 3-point percentage. But in these games, you know, like the reason we're talking about the bit players, like one hot shooting night in a 1-game sample, and boom, you're in the playoffs, right? So the Cavs, who shot a little bit below their season average in a close loss, would have liked to shoot a little better from 3. The last point here, Jarrett Allen, if he plays Friday, I think the Cavs win. He's an all-star this year. Like, it's that important. So I think the Cavs would prefer to play the Hornets. I think the Pacers would prefer the Hornets have an outlier shooting night Wednesday and are able to win. But I think I'd say it's about 50-50 against the Hawks and about 55-45 for me for the Cavs over the Hornets.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And, you know, if Jarrett Allen comes back, they can beat either team, and I'm not worried about it. And I would actually be, like, nervous of the Cavs making some noise in the actual playoffs if I'm one of those top teams because they've made it. I mean,
I'm not going that far.
What? They play Miami. They've been playing Miami? I know they are, but the offense there is a little bit scary. I don't know. Let's just win one game and we'll figure out the rest and go from there.
That's right. Let's talk about Chris Duarte. What everybody wants to hear about. Will he make an all-rookie team? Because I thought this was a little more clear-cut earlier in the season, but it's looking a little dicey for Chris Duarte. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, short little break here so I can tell you about the good folks over at Shady Rays, an independent sunglasses company that gives you the features of $200 sunglasses for a fraction of the price. That means polarized lenses, well-constructed durable frames, premium high-end finishes. Also, something you won't find anywhere else is Shady Rays' insane protection program. It includes lost and broken protection on every pair. They'll send you a brand new pair if you lose them no matter what happened. Give them a try. If you don't love Shady Rays, you'll pay nothing. It's as simple as that. Plus, 10 meals are donated to the fight against hunger in America when you shop with Shady Rays, exclusive for our listeners. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code LOCKEDON to get 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. That's code LOCKEDON for their best deal of the season, 50% off 2 or more pairs of Shady Rays sunglasses, backed by over 150,000 verified 5-star reviews. shadyrays.com. Try it today. Thank you, everybody, for making Locked On Pacers your first listen today and every single day. Check out Locked On NBA to hear about both play-in games last night in the NBA and all the other latest and greatest news, including Lakers coaching search. Let's talk about Chris Duarte and all rookie teams, because if you did all rookie voting in December, January, Duarte's first team. He was in top 3 rookie of the year discussions for the first 2 months of the season. He was awesome. And then he had this toe injury that he suffered right before the All-Star break, and that was right after probably his roughest patch of the season in January when the Pacers vets were in and out. He got another injury. He had his own COVID bout. And he still played well to close the season, finishes with good stats. We'll talk about him. But he fell from that top 3 rookie ranking to much out of that. And at the same time, you know, as the NBA goes, these bad teams all of a sudden realize they're out of it and play their rookies more. And all of a sudden they look way better because they're getting more minutes. So his inclusion in an all-rookie team, not looking so solid right now, which is crazy. This is an insane draft year. Insane. Like there are 12 to 15, like Dwayne Washington could be a good NBA player for 5 years at least. And he's not even close to all-rookie this year. This is a really good class. So Rhett and I have made our all-rookie teams, and we will see if we can find a spot for Chris Duarte on them, or if he doesn't make it. Rhett, we have different first teams. How many locks for first team did you have?
I had 4 locks for first team, and I'm assuming we share 3 of those.
Yes.
Because Cade, Mobley, Barnes, extremely easy.
we have nothing to talk about there. Actually, I'll go farther than you. I
Okay.
think those three are all superstar locks after their rookie year. They're all
Yes.
insanely good rookies.
Yes. So, like 2 seasons, if two of them made All-Star teams, I would not be surprised.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
they are
Scotty Barnes could
incredible.
be an all-star next year. Yeah, he's
Yes.
ridiculous.
And so my fourth lock, which you might disagree with, was Franz Wagner
Yeah, Franz
because
is not on my first team. So there we
he
go.
was just, I thought he was so good, way beyond what I thought he would be coming in. Played 79 games this year, 31 minutes for a Magic team that's obviously not good, but decently efficient, effective everywhere, pretty good defender for a Magic team that obviously is just bad, but still, I had him on first team pretty easily.
Okay, so that I know. I'm assuming our fifth guy's the same and our fourth guy's the difference. So Franz is great, and he's the first guy pegged lock on second team. And no, if he's first team, second team, whatever, he's a top 6 rookie to me. Yeah, I pegged him down a little more for defense than you, it sounds like, and it's impossible to evaluate defense on the Magic because they have a lot. It's like evaluating defense on the Pacers a little bit to put it in perspective because it's like am I supposed to kill Goga for having 70 drives come at him a game? Like, yeah, I can kill the drives he does a bad job handling, but also it's like he can't do that all night. Like that
Right.
kind of stuff sometimes can be challenging when evaluating rookies. That's why I think Mobley gets a huge bump from me because he handled 70 drives a game super well. I put Franz on second team. I'm assuming our different guys, Jalen Green. I did put Jalen Green on first team. He was unreal scorer for the last 3 months of the season, 40-point game to close it out. That got him over the line for me. And my fifth one, I think we'll have the same, is Herb Jones. You have Herb Jones as your.
Those were my top 6. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Herb Jones. If you haven't been watching the Pelicans, you need to. He could make an all defense team like this year. Like as a rookie, he is an unbelievable defender. And so Duarte is not up to the snuff of those 6 guys. He was for a while. Like he was legitimately, I would say Mobley for sure better all season, but Cade started slow. Scotty was pretty good. So I would say outside of Scotty and Mobley, he was ahead of basically everybody for the first 2 months. Like remember how good Chris Duarte was the first
He
2
was
weeks
so
of the season?
good. Man, we thought we got a steal. Maybe we still did, but he did. Do you think he fell off or did everybody else step up? It was probably just a combination of both, right?
Well, let me throw some stats at you. The Pacers' first 8 games. So this is kind of pre-Levert return. Remember he had that back injury to start the season. Chris Duarte took 16 shots a game, scored 18 points a game. A lot of reps, a lot of numbers. And then in the month of November, from then on to TJ McConnell's injury, that shot count per game dropped down to 10.5, right? So Levert coming back just took the ball out of his hands. Because remember, he was starting when the season started. So that made his numbers fall. I don't know necessarily he was like way less effective. He was still hitting threes and stuff, but his role just got lower. And then finally, at the end of November, they said, okay, well, let's try starting Justin Holiday because they were like 2 games under 500. They realized they might be able to save it. And then that was not the case. So then from the moment he went to the bench onward, that went back up over 11 shots per game, 13 points per game, still shot about 44%. Good steal numbers, right? So it was just kind of like his role changed a lot, and that made his numbers hard to just say like, oh, he got worse. And like he did a little bit. He was obviously very hot to start the season, but I think his role changes sort of deflect from the story of his season a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And surprisingly, like once the calendar turned to 2022, he only played 21 games this year. So he played about half the games total. And I think you mentioned it as we started, but if Duarte were playing in this last 20 games, he'd be getting so many shots up. Like he would be
unbelievable.
The stats he'd be putting up, he would be on an all rookie team. But when you put the combination of how he started the year and then take the shots that he would have been taking to close out the year, he would have been easily up towards 15, 16 shots. That's probably selling it short with how many minutes people are playing. So it's a bummer, but he's still very good. So at least we have that.
So I might actually be getting ahead of myself. I don't want to say if he is or isn't on my second team, but I will say a very important stretch for my Chris Duarte evaluation is he comes back from his COVID bout, and from January 14th to the game he injured his toe, every game in between that is 15 games. Duarte was 15 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1.2 steals per game on 44, 40, 90 splits. I mean, that's a good player. That's not a good rookie. That's a good player. And he guarded good players all the time in that stretch. So that was mid-January basically to 3 games before the All-Star break. that stretch, he got really slept on in that stretch because a lot of what was getting talked about with the Pacers that whole time was trade this guy, blow it up, talk about how this guy, and that turned out to be the case. That was the right discussion, I think. But Duarte was really good during that stretch and proving that he was a future piece. And so, with a lot of kind of turmoil and roster change coming, and two of those games are after trades, he was still awesome. And I think that is where he sort of cemented to me that even with all these role changes, when he figured out the whole NBA thing, he's really good. Every game he played after that, he was dealing with toe stuff and was admittedly pretty damn bad. But that stretch, he was really good, and that does a lot for me.
One thing that I don't know if it's worth taking into account, but I think it matters is the context with what these guys were producing, because Cade Cunningham did not have any competition for minutes and usage or anything like that.
Corey Joseph isn't pushing him out of the rotation.
We will not be having Corey Joseph on this year Pacers podcast. Scotty Barnes also just had the ball in his hands a ton. So, like, the fact that Duarte was doing all of this stuff next to Malcolm Brogdon, next to Karis LeVert, next, like, all of these good players that, frankly, these other rookies didn't have to compete with, kind of does matter.
It does. And some people would say it's a hindrance, right? Oh, his matchup's easier, But the other thing, too, and this will be another, like, nitty-gritty sort of thing when we get deep into these second teams, is Chris Duarte guarded great players a lot, right? Like Kevin Durant, I didn't know this. Chris Duarte said this at exit interviews. I did not know this happened. Chris told us the very last game the Pacers played in Brooklyn, Kevin Durant came up to Chris Duarte after the game and like congratulated him on an awesome rookie year because he thinks he's going to be, and that is on top of as everybody knows, when Kevin Durant did the live broadcast for the NBA game and gave Duarte much praise back in November. He did it again at the end of the season. I didn't know that. And I should have shared that on yesterday's show at X Interviews. But I thought that was really cool. So, that is where I think Duarte gets a bump too, is even when those stretches come where he's playing good offense, he's guarding that guy like all the time. That's where I gave Edmund Sumner a lot of praise. Like Sumner would guard Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, right? Duarte's doing that as well as a young guy. And I think that is big for him, both in terms of the context of the numbers he's putting up and the fact that he's a rookie.
Yeah, absolutely. But we got to get into these second teams because it gets really, really tight here at the end.
We both have one more lock because you told me you have 7, and I'm assuming it's Josh Giddey.
Yes.
Okay. So let's get through the locks, and then we'll pivot to the actual debate of there's 3 more spots. Will Chris Duarte be an all-rookie team member this year? Let's talk about it. One more break here, guys, to talk about 2 more awesome groups of people. First up, the good folks over at Athletic Greens. I didn't used to have time to worry about my gut health in the morning and have more energy during the day, but now AG1 and Athletic Greens have helped me get that going every day. What is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day off right. The special blend of ingredients supports gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging, all the things. AG1, it's perfect for me. I take it right in the morning, gets me going every day. It's a little healthier than coffee. It's easy to travel. They give you a little portable cup that comes with it. You can shake it right up in there. It's really awesome. It's lifestyle friendly. If you're keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, it's perfect for you. They created it because the founder experienced a ton of gut health issues, ended up on a complicated supplemental routine to recover. It cost him $100 a day. So he created Athletic Greens after experiencing that difficulty to create a cheaper, optimal nutrition routine of his own. And right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. 1 scoop in your water every day. That's it. Make it easy. Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and free 5 travel packs with your first purchase. All you got to do, visit athleticgreens.com/NBA network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NBA network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Also, let's talk about the good folks over at Built Bar. Speaking of nutritious, the best tasting protein bars out there. They taste like a candy bar. They have so many amazing flavors that make them even better, and they're great for the health conscious guy. They're protein bars that are 100% covered in chocolate. They're not like chalky or weirdly chewy, or they don't make sense how they're crunching in your mouth like the ones you buy in the store. They're basically literally a candy bar that is healthy and perfect for you. Low calorie, high protein bars that you can replace a candy bar with, and you can see the macros for all of them right on their website, but you'll be blown away. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein in most of them. I love the peanut butter brownie flavor. The mint brownie is really popular. Puff varieties with marshmallow flavorings are already popular. You got to try them yourself, like so many listeners of Locked On Pacers. Go to Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. That promo code again is LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Thank you for making Locked On Pacers your first listen today and every single day. For your second listen, go check out Locked On Cavs, because the Pacers definitely want to know more about the Cavs and what they're facing the rest of this week. All right. We have given 7 players all rookie spots so far. A slight quibble at the top, but no big deal. It doesn't. You don't get any money. It doesn't matter what all rookie team you're on. It's just an accolade next to your name. It doesn't matter. But being on it is cool. And there are 3 more spots. And we both had 12 players, I learned. So who are the last 3? Now, I actually don't want to know who's on your team. Who are the 5 guys, include one of them is Duarte, that you are debating for the last 3 spots on your second team all rookie?
Ayo Dosunmu.
Correct. I got him.
Alfred Sengun.
Got him as well.
Bones Highland.
Got him as well.
And then I have a toss-up between Davion Mitchell and Jonathan Kuminga. But I can't have 7. I'm going to guess you picked Davion.
I did not pick Davion Mitchell.
Okay.
I picked Jonathan Kuminga because he was in the rotation for a very good team this year.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel bad for Davion. He was awesome for the last month of the season, but
yes.
it came a little late for me, which is unfair. What did he have? 5 20-point games in a row, and the Kings won like 3 of those inexplicably. Like, he was really good at the end of the year. But yeah, Kuminga was my guy. He's a good defender as well for Golden State. He might be in their playoff rotation, so
he should be.
Yeah, I gave it to Kuminga. So those are my 12. If anybody listening wants to include Davion, even on their team, I wouldn't think it's that crazy, but I did not type him on my list. That's interesting. Okay. Now, how do I want to do this? Who did you put 8th? Was there any of those guys that, when you were kind of sorting through, okay, this guy could make the team, that they jumped above everybody else for you?
To me, it was Ayo.
I had one of them that did. I'm sorry.
To me, it was Ayo. 77 games played, 27 minutes a game, stepped up for Caruso and Lonzo. And I just think that he came in as a second-round pick, was not expected to be this good or to be this featured in the rotation, and handled it quite well for a team in the Bulls who did slide quite a bit. So maybe that should be a knock against him. But I had him up there.
Yeah, he is fascinating to me. So I like Ayo. He ended up making my last spot, but I do think he's a little bit overrated. I'm not gonna lie. Not like he'll be an awesome pro. He's going to be a very long time good pro. He takes the easiest shots ever. Like
no question.
He does not shoot unless he is so open. Like the game he played against the Pacers in Bankers Life in Cambridge, that was an outlier. He took a lot of difficult shots in that game. He takes super easy, and let me be very clear. This is not a bad thing. Taking open shots is good, right? But he doesn't take that many shots. He's a very forceful defender. He's a good shooter. He's a good player. I just feel like his role was kind of easy this year. Like they spoon-fed him into being an impactful rookie, and that's great. That's a really good idea by the Bulls, because then when his role gets harder and harder, he'll be ready for it. So I think he's a little overrated because his role was super easy, but I also think he was really good in that role. And I did have him on my 10th spot, but he was not my 8th guy.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely go with whichever way you want, because on a team with Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, and DeMar DeRozan, like, do you want Ayo taking a bunch of shots? Like, probably not. He did play his role very, very well. I'm not surprised to hear that he made your team, but was not one of your locks. So who was your 8th player then?
My 8th player was Bones Highland.
He was 9 for me.
Easy inclusion for me. And Bones Highland is the opposite of Ayo.
Yes.
Bones Highland takes really hard shots and played a really hard role on a really good team that needed him to be good to win a lot. As Pacers fans well know, when the Nuggets played the Pacers in Indy like 2 weeks ago, if Bones Highland wasn't good that game, the Nuggets lose. They blow a 31-point lead because Jokic was the only player who gave a damn that night. Bones Highland, look, his stats, if you look at them, no one's ever going to look at these stats and say, wow, this guy's awesome. But he just has the oomph and the glide and the finishing, and he is not afraid of anything. And at the end of the year, when they finally said, oh, wow, we should play this guy every game and play him a lot, he really turned into a decent defender for them at times on ball. I don't think any rookie's team defense is particularly good except for Evan Mobley. But he became a useful on-ball defender in a way that made me think, okay, This guy's already taking really tough shots, league average efficiency, a little better than that. Good defender on a good team, going to be in their playoff rotation for sure. I put him 8th pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. It was pretty close between the two, and considering the context, I probably should have put Bones up there. But if you just listen to the Nuggets talk about him, he walks in there like he and Jokic are like peers. He carries himself like he deserves to be out there, and frankly, he does. And so I think if you were to redo this at the end of the postseason, Bones is going to be a lock. He might even be up there towards the 6th spot pushing Giddey, because he is going to have such a crucial role for this Nuggets team in the playoffs. And obviously this isn't a playoff award, but I love some Bones, so I will not argue with your 8th selection there.
This rookie class is wild because I was really high on Giddey in the draft. I think you know that. And I still think he could be the best rookie in this class. And then Mobley and Barnes and Cade are insane. But Giddey's that good. I mean, this class is like, I think this class could be like 2003 level. Or what was the Hakeem, MJ, 90, 82, 83, whatever. That one was really good too.
Yeah.
Like that level. Like this class is insane. And Duarte's in it. Okay, so we both have one spot left for, in your case, Davion Mitchell's on this too. But Alperen Sengun, Chris Duarte, and Jonathan Kuminga. We're going to go in reverse order. We're going to cut players this time. We're going to make it as dramatic as possible. I had one kind of easy cut. I didn't have Davion at all. I mean,
right, that's my easy cut.
Team? No. Did Davion make? Okay, you can use him as your easy cut. Okay.
Yep.
My next easy cut was Kuminga. He is good for sure. And the problem I have with him is, one, he didn't play a ton. That's kind of Steve Kerr's fault. But they had him in and out of the rotation. He finished 19th among minutes for rookies. For context here, he played 15 more games than Chris Duarte and 400 less minutes, right? So his role was pretty small. That he did very well when asked to play. Very good cutter. But this is one of those, something you talked about earlier, where the context of your teammates really matters. Like playing with Steph and Draymond is so easy sometimes. Like if you know when to run towards the basket, you will get some easy points. And Jonathan Kuminga is a good defender and a pretty good finisher. And I think he will be very good. The Warriors did a great job picking him at 7. But I think his role was pretty easy this year. And that kind of, when the margins are this thin, that made a difference for me.
The only pushback I would have for that is the stretch that Kuminga had where Draymond was not out there, which is really what cemented him in the rotation, because Draymond got hurt and then and Kuminga started playing, and hey, guess what? Kuminga's a freak athlete who does a lot of things. Yeah. So I agree. Kuminga was my next cut as well, but even still, he's a very, very worthy 7th overall pick who also could be a top 3 player in the class. Like, who the heck knows? This class is just ridiculous, but he did not make my team.
Yeah, in the year 2022, like from the calendar flip, Kuminga was 12-4-1 and good defense on 51, 35, 71. Like that player for the whole season, I think I would have had on the team. But this will be a quibble for Jalen Green too, because Jalen Green from All-Star break on, top 4 rookie, no doubt. But he was not good at the beginning of the season. Right. He might not make first team as a result. Kuminga was not playing very much and wasn't as good, right, in the 2021 portion of the season. So that kind of stuff for a voter could matter. And the other part of this too, that this could honestly be a big boost in Duarte's favor. First impressions mean so much for a lot of these voters because they don't watch every team or every game. So at the beginning of the year, when Chris Duarte popping and being way better than expectations is a big story, they're going to remember that all season. Whereas with Jalen Green struggling or Kuminga not playing at all, he did not play at all. Actually, he didn't play in their first 6 games. That kind of stuff will matter, I think. And Kuminga, again, probably all said and done, will be as good and maybe better than Duarte. But I think in totality, he was my next cut.
I agree completely. Although your point about Jalen Green starting off so slow, he finished so hot that it may not even matter. Yeah, that might be what sticks. So.
Well, okay, to get away from our rookie, though, like for a rookie of the year, if Cade didn't start slow and the ankle injury is why, he probably wins, right? And so the whole season matters because his first impression wasn't as good. And he finished probably the best rookie for the last couple months of the season, but his it's of the year, right? And so that's where Scotty and Mobley, who, if the Cavs win on Friday, are both on playoff teams, will be the separator. So we both have it at the same spot. Chris Duarte or Alperen Sengun for the final spot. Al P, what a player. You know what's funny about this? these two players, Chris Duarte and Alperen Sengun, the two players I was most wrong about in the draft last year.
Really? Okay, so you just didn't think Sengun would be good?
I watched about 10. I think I had 11. Okay, so story no one cares about. My Google Drive space got too full. And so I was trying to clear stuff because I get sent a lot of files for Locked On stuff like videos and graphics and all this stuff. And I accidentally deleted the old Locked On Pacers Google Doc. Yikes, big schedule, lots of information in there. And of that information was my 2021 big board, including what games I watched. Sengun was 10 or 11 games. And I just, he was so slow that I did not think he would be a good defender in the NBA. And like, he's got the brilliant stuff going on and controls the ball like a master, but I wasn't at the level that everyone else was at. But he looks like a lot of these people that had him. The statistical models were like, this is the best player in the draft. I'm like, okay, no, but he's really damn good. I had him in like the low teens, high 20s, and he definitely is better than that. Probably the most maybe him or Giddey, the most creative rookie in the class. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I still think I would give it to Giddey just because off the bounce is harder than standing still. But Sengun has some audacity to hit some of his passes despite not moving. That still is incredibly impressive.
So I had a lot of trouble differentiating these two. So I'm going to make you go first. Who was your last guy on your all-rookie teams?
I was hoping you would go first.
Okay, I'll do it. I picked Duarte.
I did too.
And I don't really have great reasons. Sengun, a little bit of a slow start. Again, unfair to be doing this, but that will matter to me. And in the calendar year 2021, he shot 50% from the field. Wasn't quite as good from three. The passing brilliance hadn't shown up as much yet. Turnover machine, like two a game in like 15 minutes a game in the year 2021. And he started playing more when the Rockets were like, okay, fine, we suck. And he had the COVID bout at the exact same time Duarte did, like to the date. And when his minutes ramped up, like in basically February and after the All-Star break, his stats are ridiculous and the passes he makes are ridiculous. And I think he will be fantastic. Rockets got a great player with him. His last 30 games of the year, he was an 11, 7, and 3 guy who played well on both ends and shot 47%. I thought Chris Duarte was between his perimeter ability, guarding the other team's best player. That was the differentiator to me. And the Rockets were awful. So it's a little minor thing that made it the case. But that said, I watched every Pacers game and I didn't watch every Rockets game. So I'm sure someone in a Rockets seat who's on the same fence would probably pick Sengun. And I would understand that because I just have more Chris Duarte knowledge and Alperen Sengun knowledge.
Absolutely. The case for Sengun is 17 more games played.
Yes.
But, he was 8 less minutes
and
over
yet,
the course of the season.
Less total minutes. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like you said, those last 30 games, he was at 25 minutes a game, which still doesn't get up to what Chris Duarte played in his 55 games. So you just have to take that into account. I mean, the Rockets clearly weren't playing him because he was pretty good and because they had Christian Wood and for some reason Daniel Tice. So like it's weird to punish Sengun because he wasn't getting played, but it is for the year. And Sengun started off slow. Duarte played a big role in a team that needed him to play a big role, doing all the things that he was doing on the perimeter. I just think he had a tougher job, and that's why he made my spot.
I think Duarte could be a top 10 shooter in the league at some point. I think he's going to be a plus defender as soon as maybe next year, maybe 2 years. So I think he will be awesome. There's a chance that of the 10 guys I put on my all rookie teams that he will be the worst one of them, which is unbelievable given. I mean, this rookie class is insane. Like the top 12 in minutes are ridiculous. And I would like to apologize to one player. If you sort by minutes in this rookie class, we talked about all of one guy in the top 12. Do you know who that one is?
Jalen Suggs.
Oh, it's not. Jalen Suggs was not top 12 in minutes in this rookie class. He was 17th in total minutes.
Okay. My sorting, it showed up. I don't know what I'm doing.
Total minutes, not per game.
Oh, okay. There you go. Zaire Williams then.
Zaire Williams, we did skip over. He finished 14th in total minutes. Corey Kispert's.
Oh, there you go.
Played a ton of minutes and was kind of just the guy out of the year. He's going to be a good shooter, I think, for sure, but he didn't stand out that much, and his free throw percentage was solid enough, though, that I think he'll be a good shooter. He does not belong on an all-rookie team. So this exercise for listeners, I want the point to be, one, is Chris Duarte one of the best 10 rookies in the league? Maybe. Will he make an all-rookie team? I actually think so because he started strong, and a lot of voters will have some name recognition stuff here. But is he a lock to make it? Hell no. I think it's pretty close to like 60-40 that he does not end up on an all-rookie team because this is just a loaded class.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things, too, is by the time, like 5 years from now, if you did a redraft of this class, Duarte might not even be a lottery pick. Like, it's very possible that there's 15 players better than him by the time this is over with. So him making it is incredible. Him not making it isn't really a slight because this class is just awesome.
Yeah, the Pacers got a good player at 13, and it's like, well, Moses Moody and Alfred Sengun and Trey Murphy and all these guys that went right after are still really good. And by the way, we haven't talked about Isaiah Jackson, who closed the season very well and could be another guy in this draft class who is a meaningful career. What a nasty class. I mean, Cam Thomas went 27. Like, he looks good. Herb Jones was second round. Iowa second round. I love Jared Butler, even though the Jazz never played him. Like, there's a ton of good rookies this year. And Duarte is one of them. Do you have any closing Chris Duarte thoughts, Rhett?
No, I'm just really excited to see what he can do next year and see what role he plays on this team. Just hoping that he gets healthy this summer and we can see him back out there because it's a bummer he didn't play like since the trade deadline. It was like 10 games, something like that.
Yeah, I wish we got to see him more with Halliburton. The sample is too small for me to make my grand takes about how to form an offseason because those two guys are probably the most important guys to consider as you build a team forward for the Indiana Pacers. Rhett, where can people follow you and all your work?
You can find me on Twitter at Rhett_Bauer, RHE_BAUER. I have some award stuff coming out, some Dynasty basketball stuff coming out, and I'm sure we'll have some Pacers thoughts on there as well.
Always good. Follow Rhett for all that information about the Pacers and the whole league. Tomorrow, I haven't quite decided between key offseason dates, total league awards, evaluating Rick Carlisle's first season. Lots of topic directions I could go tomorrow. So I can't tell you yet because I don't know. But I promise it'll be interesting. And Friday, maybe I'll do awards with the guest then. We'll see. So it'll be fun. Lots of fun stuff coming up before we officially fully pivot into draft, free agency, off-season mode for the Pacers. It's tough when there's games still going that actually matter to the franchise for me to totally brain off the basketball part of this. Thank you all so much for listening. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see you then.